FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome, and you are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and today is, you're not going to believe it, November 28th, 2017. Hey, be part of the show. Email us at kl@kerrylutz.com, the Twitter feed @KerryLutz. Hey, so exciting. The emails have increased geometrically. I'm getting dozens a day, and it's great to hear from all of you. So be part of the show. Hey, well, there's something rotten in D.C., in case you weren't already aware of this fact. On many levels, whether you're talking about waste of taxpayer funds, whether you're talking about the swamp, or the current abuse scandals that are rocking the nation's capital. And someone who has an inside track on it, well, we want to know what do they know and when did they stop knowing it? Former Congressman John LeBoutillier with us now. John, great to have you back on, as always.
Kerry, it is great. I couldn't be happier, and we have a lot of timely topics to discuss.
Yeah. So pre-call, you were telling me that you were a kind of a trendsetter in defensive interactions with the fairer sex, in that you would never, when you were serving in the hallowed halls of Congress, you'd never have a woman in your office alone. Although
ever.
Under Clinton's definition, I don't know what alone means anymore, but obviously you had some idea, right?
Right. No, I don't know how it happened, but I was very young, and I had a staff that had been in my campaign. We were all in our 20s, and we immediately adopted a policy that I would never meet in my congressional office alone with a woman. I would have another person in the room. And this is back in 1981, so none of this sexual harassment stuff had been made public. Congress did not have this policy that we've been reading about with this $17 million slush fund. That I never had heard of that. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't ever going to do anything bad towards a woman anyway. But there's always a chance that a woman could get a meeting with a congressman and claim he did something to her, and that's bad. So we prevented that from ever happening.
Hey, this is the shame that you're no longer in Congress, because, all right, granted, it's not world peace, but it shows a forward thinkingness and a common sense that apparently is completely lacking as far as our current congressmen are concerned.
Well, I'm going to tell you about a longtime Democratic congressman from New York City who was there when I was there. Who was known for a practice that was really horrible. He would always hire, and he was an older guy, he would hire young, preppy interns for the summer, young women. And every summer there was the same story would come out about it. He would have one of these really girls stay behind late at night, because we were voting late at night, so he's in his office, and he'd keep the staff there. Mm-hmm. And he'd make this girl come in around 10 o'clock at night into his office alone. He's behind his desk reading things. He says, "Come over here, I want to show you something." And this poor little 20-year-old, what does she know? And she comes over to the big, powerful congressman's desk, and he's reading something. He says, "Come over here." And he's got a magazine in his lap.
Oh, my God.
And when he drops the magazine, he has an erection outside his pants and makes her look at it.
Oh.
And this was well known up on Capitol Hill. And this guy never got charged. Now, he's dead now, but he got away with it. This is the stuff this guy did.
Lucky him that he's dead.
There's a lot of that down there.
Hey, and it's the swamp. I mean, and right now, most of the allegations, they're more than allegations. When you see Conyers settling a harassment suit for $27,000, hey, money changed hands. Even if he didn't admit or deny any of the allegations, money changes hands, probably something to it. But they've all been Democrats. But we've got the Roy Moore situation down there in Alabama, which I got to tell you, a lot of it seems very specious when Gloria Wretch Allred is involved. And then it's obvious forgery on the yearbook because the handwriting doesn't match he signs his name DA when he was never DA, at least not at that time. I mean, all of these allegations seem questionable at best. And what's your take on it?
Well, I don't agree with you about the Washington Post story of the first 4 women, including Lee Corfman, the 14-year-old. That story is absolutely a work of excellent journalism. They've got contemporary witnesses to all 4 incidents. They've got those sources named in the article. They've got the mothers of these girls. I don't agree with you. I think the Gloria Allred one, you could throw that one out, then you're down to 8 underage women. And those stories, I mean, there's no way they're made up. The one about the 15-year-old girl who Moore hits on and she doesn't want anything to do with him, and then she's in class in high school when she gets summoned to the principal's office, and there's a telephone call for her from Roy Moore. And he says, "What are you doing?" And this girl says, "I'm in trig class." And then he takes her out on a date and makes him make out with him. And that girl didn't make that up. You don't make up something that I was summoned out of trigonometry class to the principal's office. The greatest novelist couldn't make up a story like that. The guy is a creep. He goes for teenage girls as a mid-30-ish man. He's going to dance recitals where he spotted his future wife. The cops were told at the high school games, keep your eye on this guy because he gets too close to the cheerleaders. I mean,
there's a lot of innuendo and rumor.
He's a creepy guy.
Well, some of it might be true. I don't know, but there's inconsistencies and everything. I don't like his denial that he never went out with any girl who his parents didn't agree to it.
Didn't ask their mother.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, that's like from the 1850s or something.
Yeah, he's a little bizarre, but you think he's going to get elected?
I don't know. I mean, I think he's going to it'll be close. I think back to in 2012 when Romney got 61% of the vote in Alabama, or 62% actually. Roy Moore got 10% less. He got 51.5, and he won by 2.5 points. So clearly there was a fall off of Republican voters from Romney to Moore, and that's before any of these scandalous allegations were made. I have to think that Doug Jones is going to be very close to winning this thing.
Yeah, well, it still is Alabama, and a lot of that behavior from a northern perspective is probably unacceptable. Certainly the, assaults or whatever.
We'll find out. But we're going to find out. We'll know in a couple of weeks, and we'll see. Now, Mitch McConnell is telling people in private, first of all, that he thinks Moore will lose the race, but that if Moore wins the race, Republicans will lose the Senate in 2018.
Yeah, well, he's the keeper of the swamp, so that's what you'd expect. The last person he wants to be a colleague in the Senate is Roy Moore for reasons besides the allegations out there. And there's some people saying that he leaked the story as well. We'll just have to see how this thing shakes out here. But I think he's got a shot.
But I don't think Mitch McConnell was behind this woman thing, because if he was, they would have done it in a runoff to keep Strange in there. And they did, Luther Strange. They didn't do it. I think this is what it was the Washington Post goes down there in September when the president goes down to endorse Luther Strange. They hear these rumors of the underage girls. They bring a team down and ferret out the first 4 girls who've never gone public, who all voted Republican as adults. They didn't want to go forward, and they didn't want to go forward unless others went forward to protect each other. So I buy all of it. I think it's true. I think Roy Moore might be a conservative on issues. That's one thing. But personally, as the word they keep using down there is, he's creepy.
Yeah,
it's just creepy for older guys to be going after teenage
Oh,
girls.
for sure.
It's creepy.
I got two
Even
daughters.
if it's not criminal, you know.
Yeah, I got two daughters. I wouldn't want them going out with a guy in their 30s when they were that age, for sure. Hey, so let's switch gears. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB, an agency that should have never existed because everything they're charged to do to regulate, there's already multiple agencies regulating it, whether it's banks, John, the FTC, the Federal Reserve, the controller of the currency, everything that they're charged with doing to protect people. There's already agencies responsible for doing it. You had this guy, Richard Cordray, a total reprobate, supposedly brilliant, but basically tried to turn it into a Democratic-only agency, even to the point of not hiring and firing Republicans. And then he finally quits. Probably Trump was about to fire him shortly anyways. And then he appoints his deputy who, under the rules of absenteeism or inability to serve, she gets to run the agency. However, it's a vacancy. It's not absentee or disability. And now we've got two people, Mick Mulvaney and Leandra English, both claiming to be the commissioner or director of the CFPB. What's your take on the situation?
Well, it's in federal court. It went to a court Sunday night. A Trump-appointed federal judge, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that.
I didn't realize there are that many that are already in there, you know.
There's enough.
as of right now, when we're recording this show, I don't believe that guy has ruled. And whoever loses that is going to go to the D.C. appeals court. And this thing's going to get fought out for a while. We have two people claiming to be running the same agency.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun to watch. And I agree with you. This agency was created in the early months of Obama as part of dodd-frank after the financial collapse, Democratic Congress. Mm-hmm. And they set it up in a way that, they'd have a hard time for a future Republican president to nail it. Mm-hmm. And Trump wants to nail it, which I guess is why he's putting Mulvaney over there. Because that's a little odd, too. One guy running two things at the same time. We don't do that in government anymore. I'm sure he can do it. He can run the budget thing and this for a while they sort out what to do.
Well, we know there's a 1997-1998 law passed, Vacancy Act, which says that if somebody has been approved already by Congress, that the president can appoint that person to head up any agency that he likes as acting director. And then the general counsel of the CFPB puts out an opinion that Trump is right and Cordray/English are in the wrong. And this is a person who's definitely pretty far to the left, but the rule of law is the rule of law. They're hiding something that they don't want uncovered. And my money is on Mulvaney and Trump, because it seems obvious on its face that you can't have an agency that is completely unaccountable to the Congress, to the president, and to the people. It just seems off.
I agree. We're going to find out, I'm sure, imminently, the first round in federal court. And, and then there'll be an appeal, and we'll get another ruling on it. So we'll see.
Yeah. What about?
And in the process, we ought to, as a country, re-examine Dodd-Frank, including this creation of this board, and whether we need it or not.
Absolutely. You're 100% correct. I mean, Dodd and Frank, if there were two people who were on the edges of the financial collapse of 08-09, who helped fuel the mortgage meltdown, it was Barney Frank and Chris Dodd. Dodd was getting preferable mortgage rates from Countrywide because he was a friend of Angelo Mozilla officially, and that made him eligible for cut-rate mortgages. He wound up retiring in semi-disgrace and then went on to head up the Motion Picture Association of America, where he's doing a bang-up job.
He gets like $1 million a year for that gig.
Yeah. Like, did he get his job through the New York Times, John? You think?
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely something interesting there. So the whole concept of Dodd-Frank, which was supposed to address the too big to fail banks and other entities that could potentially threaten the economic system or economic viability of the U.S., all it's done is resulted in bigger and bigger entities, bigger and bigger too big to fail banks, and hasn't really accomplished its goal, although we haven't had another financial crisis since then, but that's not necessarily to the credit of Dodd and Frank. There's other reasons for that, like the bailout of the banks.
Right. Well, a lot of stuff was done at the end of the Bush administration, TARP, and the beginning of Obama, including massive stimulus spending, continuation of to Dodd-Frank, this thing, I forget all the other stuff. Everything was done to bail out the banks, and I guess it worked. But whether it really did in the long run, I'm not competent to say. But this is a leftover remnant of it. We ended up making our money back on TARP. The taxpayers got their money back.
Very true.
But on this thing, I think we need an independent examination of what the hell did they do. I agree with what you said at the beginning. This guy Cordray was clearly using this thing to run for governor of Ohio, to which he's now a week ago resigned and moved back to run for the Democratic nomination to be governor of Ohio, which smells to me. He's running a federal agency in Washington, and a minute later he's back in Columbus, Ohio, running for governor. Little strange.
Yeah, it's a very interesting state of affairs there, and happened very quickly. And obviously he was going to get fired because Trump has had it in for him. He's had it in for Trump. And then Elizabeth Warren gets involved in this because this agency,
she created it.
Yeah, that was her brainchild. She was supposed to be the person to run it, but the Republican Congress said, no way, we're doing that. And then she goes on to get elected senator, and then Trump gives a little barb yesterday in the White House when he's honoring these Navajo code guys, code talkers, as they called them in World War II, because the Germans couldn't figure out how to speak Navajo. So they were able to, there was a bunch of them, and they really were able to communicate without the possibility of getting deciphered by the Germans. They were really, it's a phenomenal story. There was a movie about it not too long ago. It's worth you taking a look at. And he mentions, Pocahontas. I mean, really, the proper nickname is Pocahontas because she's totally faux Indian or Native American. It's
come on, Kerry.
Totally
she's 1/32nd Indian.
At the most, and even that.
I think we're all 1/32nd of something.
Well, let her go to Ancestry.com and get her DNA tested and put the whole thing to rest. But she'll never do that. So.
There you go.
But she has high cheekbones, but she looks like, I don't know, like they always used to put Ally McGraw into roles that were Jewish women. And Ally McGraw looked, she had the map of Ireland on her face. She's a gorgeous woman, don't get me wrong, but she didn't look Jewish. Yeah. And Liz Warren there does not look.
Blonde. How many blonde Indian goddesses were there?
Oh, God. You can't make this stuff up, John. You can't make it up. And we should mention that she was on this faculty of Harvard, getting paid $300,000 or $500,000 a year to teach one class, and they touted her as Native American. So it helped all of their numbers that they reported to the federal government. She's female and she's Native American. That's 2 boxes, and she used it to advance her career. And
I think she got the gig. She came up with this 1/32nd thing in order to get Harvard to hire her originally.
Correct. So Pocahontas.
So let me tell you an American Indian Harvard story relating to me.
Okay.
I'm a senior undergrad at Harvard, and I applied to Yale Law School. And on the application, there's a box that says origin of birth. And I checked the box that said native born American.
Yeah.
Born in New York.
Uh-huh.
And about a month later, I come in the dining room of Kirkland House where I lived at Harvard, and you knew everybody that ate there every day, the people who lived there. I knew everybody.
Sure.
That day at lunch, there was a table of 6 American Indians who did not live or eat ever in Kirkland House. I never saw these people before. They were very distinctive. I get my food. I sit down with my friends at my table. A couple minutes later, one of the a woman comes over and says, "Are you John LeBoutillier?" And I go, "Yes, I am." And she then turns around and leaves, and that's the end of it. A couple weeks later, I get a rejection letter from Yale Law School. I got turned down. And I put 2 and 2 together, figured it out. Native-born American, even though that's what I think I am, to them, that means American Indian. But because of my name, I could be like a French-Canadian Indian.
Yeah, easy.
So they needed to send a real Indian to eyeball me and see what I am.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't put down you were...
Me, when I said I was who I was, she knew I wasn't an Indian, and then I got turned down. Quota politics all the way.
Well, good thing you didn't say you were black, or they would have sent some blacks in there to check you out. Right? I mean, how can you tell if you're 132nd Indian or not?
We didn't have Ancestry.com back then. I should have sent it to her. Yeah, I'm John LeBoutillier, and I'm my family started the game of lacrosse in India, in Canada, which the Indians did, by the way, and that would have really flummoxed them.
Yeah, well, this is there's nothing new here, John. We know all about this, the way it works, but you're probably better off not having gone there, no doubt. And hey, John, tell us where to find you, podcast, website, etc.
I have a podcast called Revolution _ the podcast, which you can hear at SoundCloud and iTunes, and you can find it and me simple. JohnLeBout.com, JohnLeBout.com.
All right. And as always, we'll have a link to that in the show notes. Email us. Got a question for John, myself, KL@KerryLutz.com. Twitter feeds @KerryLutz. Facebook page, Financial Survival Network. John, we'll talk to you in a little while. Always good catching up.
Great, Kerry. Thanks, man. Great talking to you.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to FinancialSurvivalNetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.